The medicine cabinet in the upstairs bathroom had been moved, not dramatically, just half an inch to the left, enough that the outline of dust revealed where it used to sit. Carmen Reyes noticed it on a Thursday morning while cleaning the master suite, and something cold settled in her stomach. She had been the Castellano family's housekeeper for 11 years. She knew every corner of this house, every habit of its inhabitants, every object in its proper place. The medicine cabinet hadn't been touched in months. There was no reason to move it now, unless someone had been looking for something. Carmen stood in the doorway of the bathroom, dust cloth in hand, mind racing through possibilities. The new babysitter had started 3 weeks ago, young, energetic, and came with impeccable references. The Castellanos had been desperate after their previous nanny retired, and Olivia Chen had seemed like a gift. The twins, 4-year-old Sophia and Lucas, had taken to her immediately. Too immediately, Carmen had thought at the time, though she'd dismissed it as her own bias. She was protective of the children. She'd helped raise them since they were infants. Any new caregiver would have seemed like an intrusion. But now, standing in front of that moved cabinet, Carmen felt the weight of intuition she'd been ignoring for 3 weeks. Something was wrong. She didn't know what yet. Carmen Reyes had learned to trust her instincts long before she came to work for the Castellanos. She had grown up as the eldest of 6 children in a household where vigilance meant survival. Her father had worked double shifts at a factory. Her mother had cleaned houses during the day and took in sewing at night. Carmen had become a second mother to her siblings by the time she was 10, learning to read the small signs that meant someone was sick, scared, or lying. Those skills had served her well in her profession. She had worked as a housekeeper for wealthy families for 23 years, and she had seen things that would never appear in police reports or divorce proceedings. She had learned when to speak and when to stay silent. She had learned that the people who employed her often valued discretion more than truth, but she had also learned that some truths were too important to keep quiet. The Castellanos were good people. Richard Castellano was a cardiac surgeon who worked 70-hour weeks. His wife Jennifer ran a nonprofit that provided legal services to refugees. They were devoted parents who simply didn't have enough hours in the day. They trusted Carmen implicitly, and she had never violated that trust. The twins were the center of Carmen's world in ways she would never admit out loud. She had no children of her own. Her life had been consumed by caring for other people's families, and somewhere along the way, Sophia and Lucas had become hers in all the ways that mattered, except biology, which was why the medicine cabinet bothered her so much, and why, over the past 3 weeks, she had been noticing other small things. The way Olivia Chen's smile never quite reached her eyes. The way she positioned herself between Carmen and the children during pickups from preschool. The way the twins had become quieter, more subdued, less likely to run to Carmen with their endless stream of questions and observations. Carmen had told herself she was being paranoid, jealous even. The children were simply adjusting to a new caregiver, but the medicine cabinet had been moved. Carmen made a decision that would have horrified her younger self. She began documenting everything. It started small. She kept a notebook in her purse, hidden beneath her car keys and wallet. She wrote down times and observations in careful handwriting. The day Olivia arrived, 15 minutes late, the twins were more clingy than usual. The afternoon Carmen found Sophia's favorite stuffed bear in the trash, though the child swore she hadn't thrown it away. The evening Lucas asked his mother if it was okay to take medicine that tastes like candy. Jennifer Castellano had laughed at that last comment, assuming her son had confused vitamins with candy. But Carmen had seen the look that crossed Olivia's face. Brief, gone in a second, but unmistakable. Guilt. The next day, Carmen checked the medicine cabinet while Olivia was at the park with the twins. She photographed the contents with her phone. Children's Tylenol, a prescription antibiotic from Lucas's ear infection 3 months ago, Jennifer's migraine medication, and Richard's blood pressure pills. She noted the levels in each bottle, the number of pills, and the exact placement on the shelves. She felt like a criminal doing it, like she was betraying the family's privacy. But the alternative was ignoring the warning bells that grew louder with each passing day. A week later, she checked again. The antibiotic bottle was lighter. 3 pills gone, and Lucas hadn't been sick. Carmen's hands shook as she took another photograph. She wanted to be wrong. She prayed she was wrong, but she couldn't ignore this anymore. She began staying later in the evenings, finding excuses to be present when Olivia was still there. She folded laundry that didn't need folding. She reorganized closets that were already organized. She made herself invisible but present, watching. Olivia grew irritated with her continued presence. There were small comments, seemingly innocent, suggestions that Carmen could leave early, that the house was already spotless, and that she must be tired after such a long day. Carmen smiled and continued wiping down counters that didn't need wiping. Then came the afternoon that changed. Everything Carmen was in the laundry room, folding tiny clothes and listening to the sounds of the house. Olivia was in the living room with the twins. Carmen heard the babysitter's voice, bright and cheerful, suggesting a game. Then the sound of small feet running, delighted giggles, the kind of noise that should have been reassuring, but something was off. Carmen moved quietly to the doorway, staying out of sight. She watched as Olivia produced 2 small cups from her bag, colorful plastic cups with cartoon characters. She poured something from a thermos, and even from across the room, Carmen could see it wasn't juice. The liquid was too thin, too clear. Special treat, Olivia was saying. Her voice sang song and false, just for being such good listeners today. But this is our secret, okay? Mommy and Daddy don't know about our special treat time. Sophia reached for her cup eagerly. Lucas hesitated, and Carmen saw Olivia's expression shift, still smiling, but harder now. Lucas, we talked about this. Good boys drink their special juice. You want to be a good boy, don't you? Carmen's phone was in her pocket. She pulled it out with trembling fingers, turned off the sound, and began recording. She didn't know what she was capturing. She didn't know if it would matter. But every instinct she had honed over 47 years was screaming that this moment was important. Through the phone screen, she watched as both children drank from their cups, watched as Olivia took the empty cups and tucked them back into her bag with practiced efficiency, watched as she checked her watch, then settled onto the couch with a satisfied expression. "Okay, my little ones, time for your nap. I bet you're feeling sleepy already, aren't you?" Lucas yawned. Sophia rubbed her eyes. They had been full of energy 5 minutes ago. Carmen felt ice spread through her chest. She stopped recording and backed away silently, mind racing. She needed to think. She needed to be smart about this. If she were wrong, she would destroy an innocent woman's reputation and possibly lose her own job. If she were right and acted rashly, she might alert Olivia before she could prove anything. She went back to the laundry room and sat on the small stool she used for sorting, phone clutched in her hand. She watched the timestamp of the video, 3 minutes and 42 seconds. On the screen, children drinking something their babysitter wanted, kept secret, being told they would feel sleepy, yawning on cue. Carmen thought about the medicine cabinet, the missing pills. The twins have been increasingly lethargic over the past 3 weeks. The way Jennifer had mentioned that the children were sleeping more, seeming worn out, and the pediatrician had suggested it was a growth spurt. She thought about her job, her reputation, and her relationship with the family she had served for 11 years. Then she thought about Sophia and Lucas, 4 years old and trusting, drinking liquid from cups that were hidden in a bag and never washed in the kitchen sink. Carmen pulled up her contacts and found the number for Richard Castellano's office. Her finger hovered over the call button. Then she scrolled past it and dialed 911 instead. The operator's voice was calm and professional, asking for the nature of her emergency. Carmen's voice shook as she tried to explain. A babysitter. Medicine is going missing. Children are being given drinks in secret. She knew how it sounded. Vague, paranoid. The concerns of a nervous housekeeper who didn't like the new employee. "Ma'am, have the children been harmed?" the operator asked. Carmen looked at the video on her phone. Sophia and Lucas are drinking from those cups, yawning, being led upstairs for an unscheduled nap. Were they harmed? She didn't know. They weren't crying. They weren't injured. But something was desperately wrong. "I think they're being drugged," Carmen said. And hearing the words out loud made them real in a way they hadn't been before. "I think the babysitter is giving them something to make them sleep. I have a video. I have evidence of missing medication." There was a pause. Carmen could hear the keyboard clicking. "We're sending officers to your location," the operator said. "Can you stay on the line? Are you safe? Is the babysitter still in the home?" "Yes," Carmen whispered. "She's upstairs with the children right now. They just went down for a nap. I need you to stay calm and stay where you are." Don't confront her. Officers are 3 minutes away. 3 minutes felt like 3 hours. Carmen remained in the laundry room, phone pressed to her ear, listening to the sounds of the house. Footsteps above her head, the creak of floorboards, the distant sound of a door closing. Everything normal, everything horrifying. She thought about all the times she'd second-guessed herself over the past 3 weeks. All the moments she'd talked herself out of speaking up because she didn't want to seem jealous or paranoid. What if she had waited longer? What if she had convinced herself it was nothing? What if something had happened to those children because she chose politeness over protection? The guilt was crushing, even though nothing had happened yet. Even though she had acted, because she knew how close she had come to not acting at all. She heard sirens in the distance, growing closer. Heard the moment Olivia must have heard them too, because there were sudden footsteps, quick and loud, moving toward the stairs. Officers are entering now, the operator said. Stay where you are. Carmen heard the front door open, heard authoritative voices, heard Olivia's voice, confused and defensive, asking what this was about. Heard the careful, professional tones of police officers asking her to step outside, asking where the children were, asking if she would consent to a search of her belongings. Carmen finally moved from the laundry room. She walked on shaking legs to the front hallway, where 2 officers were speaking with Olivia, while a third headed upstairs. The babysitter's face was pale, her eyes wide, her body language that of someone caught but not yet sure how much was known. One of the officers turned to Carmen. You're the one who called. Yes, Carmen said. The children are upstairs. Front bedroom on the left. They've been sleeping more than usual. I think she's been giving them something. The officer who had gone upstairs returned with Sophia and Lucas. Both children were groggy, confused, clinging to the officer with the disoriented trust of 4-year-olds who didn't understand what was happening. Carmen's heart broke at the sight of them. Lucas's hair was messy from sleep. Sophia was clutching her replacement stuffed bear, the one Jennifer had bought after the original disappeared. They're very lethargic, the officer reported. More than normal sleep would explain. Another officer was examining the contents of Olivia's bag. The colorful cups, the thermos, a small Ziploc bag containing pills that were clearly not over-the-counter vitamins. Ma'am, can you explain what these are? The officer asked Olivia. The babysitter's composure cracked. This is insane. I haven't done anything wrong. Those are just supplements. I give them to the kids because their mother said they needed more vitamins. Jennifer never said that. Carmen spoke up, her voice stronger now. And those pills came from the medicine cabinet upstairs. I have photographs showing the bottles before and after the pills went missing. Olivia's eyes snapped to Carmen with pure hatred. You've been spying on me, you bitter old woman. You can't stand that the kids like me better than you. One of the officers held up a hand. Ma'am, I'm going to need you to stop talking. We'll be taking these children to the hospital for evaluation. We'll be testing the contents of this thermos, and we'll be asking you to come to the station to answer some questions. I want a lawyer, Olivia said, and the shift in her demeanor was startling. The bright, cheerful babysitter disappeared entirely, replaced by someone cold and calculating. Carmen knelt in front of Sophia and Lucas. It's okay, my darlings. These nice officers are going to take you to see a doctor. Your mommy and daddy will meet you there. Will you come too? Sophia asked, her voice small and sleepy. Yes, Carmen said, though no one had actually confirmed she could. I'll be right there with you. The officers called for an ambulance. They called Child Protective Services. They contacted Richard and Jennifer Castellano, who left their jobs immediately and arrived, just as the paramedics were loading the twins into the ambulance for transport. Jennifer's face was a mask of horror and confusion. I don't understand. What happened? Carmen, what's going on? Carmen handed her phone to Jennifer. Watch the video, and then we need to check your medicine cabinet. The hospital tests confirmed what Carmen had suspected. Both children had significant levels of antihistamines and mild sedatives in their systems. Levels that were not immediately dangerous but were absolutely not appropriate for 4-year-old children. Levels that explained their increased sleepiness, their decreased appetite, and their general lethargy over the past 3 weeks. The pills from Olivia's bag matched the medications from the Castellano medicine cabinet. The liquid in the thermos was a carefully measured mixture designed to make children drowsy and compliant without causing obvious harm. In the hospital waiting room, Jennifer Castellano sat with her face in her hands, shoulders shaking with silent sobs. Richard stood against the wall, jaw clenched, hands in fists. Carmen sat between them, feeling the weight of what might have been. A detective arrived to take statements. She was a woman in her 40s, with kind eyes and a nonsense demeanor. She sat across from Carmen and asked her to walk through everything from the beginning. Carmen told her about the moved medicine cabinet, the notebook of observations, the missing pills, the secret cups, and the emphasis on keeping treats hidden from the parents. The video had captured everything. "You likely prevented something very serious," the detective said when Carmen finished. "We're still investigating Ms. Chen's background, but preliminary searches have revealed concerning patterns. She's worked for 4 families in the past 3 years. 3 of those families reported their children becoming unusually sleepy and compliant. None of them connected it to the babysitter. They all thought it was normal childhood phases." Jennifer made a sound somewhere between a sob and a gasp. "Why? Why would someone do this?" The detective's expression was carefully neutral. "There are people who specifically seek out caregiving positions because they want control. Drugging children makes them easier to manage, makes the caregiver look more competent. Sometimes it's about the power itself. Sometimes it's a precursor to other forms of abuse." Richard's fist hit the wall. Not hard, just a release of impotent rage. "Our children. Someone was drugging our children, and we didn't even notice." "You noticed their behavior changing?" the detective said gently. "You took them to the pediatrician. You were paying attention." This woman was sophisticated. She knew how to hide what she was doing. If not for your housekeeper's vigilance and willingness to act on her concerns, this could have continued for much longer. All eyes turned to Carmen. She felt exposed, uncomfortable with the attention. She had only done what needed to be done. She had only protected children who couldn't protect themselves. "I almost didn't say anything," Carmen admitted quietly. "I thought I was being paranoid. I thought maybe I was jealous or overprotective. I was afraid of being wrong." Jennifer reached over and took Carmen's hand. "You were afraid, but you acted anyway. You saved my babies." The word babies broke something in Carmen's carefully maintained composure. Tears spilled down her cheeks, and she didn't try to stop them. Sophia and Lucas were safe. That was all that mattered. They were safe because she had trusted her. Instincts over her fear of being inappropriate or overstepping, the twins were kept overnight for observation but released the next morning with no lasting physical effects. Olivia Chen was charged with 4 counts of child endangerment and multiple counts of administering harmful substances to minors. During the investigation, 2 more families came forward with concerns about their children's behavior during the time Olivia had worked for them. The pattern became clear. She targeted wealthy, busy families. She positioned herself as the perfect caregiver. She drugged children to make them easier to manage and to make herself appear exceptionally skilled. The Castellanos asked Carmen to take on a more formal role in the twins. She became their primary caregiver, a position she had essentially held for years, but now with proper recognition and compensation. Jennifer cut back her hours at the nonprofit. Richard rearranged his surgery schedule. The family restructured around what mattered most. Sophia and Lucas recovered quickly, as children do. Within a week, they were back to their energetic, curious selves. They didn't understand the full scope of what had happened, only that the babysitter wouldn't be coming back and that Carmen would be there every day. The medicine cabinet was fitted with a lock. Security cameras were installed throughout the house. Background checks became more thorough. The Castellanos joined a parent network dedicated to sharing information about childcare providers and warning signs of abuse. But the bigger change was internal. Jennifer and Richard learned that being busy didn't have to mean absent. That trusting childcare providers didn't mean ignoring instincts. The people who spend the most time with your children often see things you miss. And Carmen learned that speaking up, even when you're afraid of being wrong, even when it means risking comfort and security, is not just a right, but a responsibility. She still kept a notebook, still documented observations, still trusted the instincts that had been honed over decades of paying attention. But now she knew that those instincts deserved to be voiced, not suppressed. The story could have ended differently. It could have been a tragedy instead of a close call. The difference was one woman's willingness to look at a moved medicine cabinet and ask why, to see children drinking from secret cups and recognize danger, to choose protection over politeness, truth over comfort. Action over silence. Sometimes saving lives doesn't require heroic gestures. Sometimes it just requires paying attention, trusting yourself, and refusing to look away when something feels wrong.